Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the second Clash pack that was released as part of this ongoing kind of obscure cardboard mini-series. So Clash pack, if you've not watched the last one, I'll quickly explain it. It's a two-player kind of starter set. It's kind of like a bit like a dual deck, I suppose, with the idea that you could play these two pre-constructed decks against each other, and there was kind of guidance in the packaging for like how to combine basically the best bits of the two decks into a single deck that was kind of meant to be like a bit more like competitive, kind of on the level of like the event decks that are out at the same time. And I mentioned the last one. I ultimately think this was like kind of a good idea because it's kind of like a starter set. You split this with a friend and you both kind of like play Magic and you maybe like learn the rules that way. And then when you're ready to maybe go to a more competitive event, say like you want to go to Friday Night Magic, you've got the option to like combine the best bits of the two decks and sort of like have an okay chance, maybe. So I do think maybe it could have been executed better, but like the idea I think is a good one. So this is the second one that was released for the Fate Reforged set, Power and Profit. Despite being Fate Reforged, there are still like a lot of Theros block cards in here. So as we'll see when we get into it. So what we'll do, we'll look at the power side first, which is blue, black, green. So obviously this being Fate Reforged, like Khan's block, this is going to be all about Sultai. And when I looked at the Sultai Precon, when I was going through all the pre-constructed intro packs, the Sultai one was not super great, just because like Delve is quite a skill testing mechanic, I think, and so like trying to dumb it down not dumb it down, that's like not a fair wording, but like trying to make it accessible at the intro pack level kind of meant that the deck was a bit of a mess. So we'll see maybe if it does okay here. So decklist here, 18 creatures, 8 instants, 6 sorceries, 25 land, 2 enchantment, 1 artifact, and then we got a mana curve that's all over the place because a lot of these cards have delve, so can be reduced in cost by exiling cards. So let's just get into it. Kind of like the last one, I won't spend maybe too long talking about the cards individually because we got two to get through. So we'll just kind of whistle through them as quickly as we can. So the other thing about Clash packs, if you've not seen the last video as well, is that the decks firstly they contain a lot more rares. I think it's like 10 overall rares, so like I think it's five per deck, and also there's about 6 alternate arts in here, which is like kind of nice for collections as well, I suppose. So so we got Necropolis Fiend, which was the face rare of the Sultai intro pack back in Khan's here. So 7 double black for a 4/5 with flying. It's got delve, so you can exile cards from your graveyard to make it cheaper to cast, and it's got an ability you can pay X and tap exile X cards from your graveyard to give a creature -X to 10. I always feel it has sort of anti-synergy with itself because if you want to cast it for cheap, then you might not then have a lot of cards to use its ability, maybe. So the delve cards I always feel are costed about like 3 or 4 more than they should. Obviously, you then can get them cheaper by exiling more cards. But yeah, and the big final combined deck of this has like a really big like self mill theme to it. So that's kind of where it's going. That's like the big overlap between the two decks. So yeah, Necropolis Fiend is kind of fine, I guess. I like Herald of Torment more. So 1 double black for a 3/3 with flying at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. So this kind of aggressive, undercosted like black flyer has the bestow ability from Theros, which means you can cast it for its bestow cost. You turn it into an aura that goes onto a creature, and it gives when it's that way, then it gives the enchanted creature +3/+3 in flying, and then when the enchanted creature dies, Herald Torment jumps off and becomes a creature, which is pretty cool, I think. And then randomly, like it's not a bad card. It feels a bit out of place in here because it doesn't really gel what the deck's trying to do. It's just like a generically good card, Scuttling Good Doom Engine. 6 mana just for a 6/6, can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less, and when it dies, does 6 damage to target opponent. Like it's a perfectly good card. It just doesn't super mesh well with what the deck's trying to do, I think, which is stack your graveyard so then you can delve for things. But it's still like a big creature, so it's like win condition, isn't it? And then these are essentially, I think, the main mill effects here. So Sultai Soothsayer lets you look at the top 4. You pick 1, and the rest go into your graveyard. So that gives you 3 into the graveyard, while you pick the best thing you want out of those 4. Sultai Skullkeeper mills 2 when it comes in, and I really think the deck needed more of these. Like I would say like 3 or maybe 4 of these to make it work. And then Necromancer's Assistant, 3 mana for a 3/1, and you mill 3 when it comes in. So these are the main ways of kind of like stacking the graveyard for your delve effects. We've also got a single return centaur. When it ends the battlefield, a player, doesn't have to be you, mills 4, but you'll probably want to do yourself because say you've got the effects that care about having stuff in your graveyard. I saw went over like the whole self mill thing, I think, when I was talking about Sultai, but if you've not seen that deck review, it's not a strategy that I particularly, it's not for me. I get it can be good, but like it's not for me because I always worry, I suppose, like, well, what if I mill the thing I want to play? Because there's not much in the way of like actual recursion in the deck. So if you do accidentally mill, say like the Necropolis Fiend, like I don't think you've got a way of getting it back, and that's always the thing I think with self mill. Like I think it needs ways to like kind of like a contingency plan essentially if you mill the win condition. Got a full playset of Satyr Wayfinder. This is nice because it was like in M15. I think it was in Origins as well. It's not a Theros card from what I remember. I think it was just mostly a core set card. Anyway, Satyr Finder as 2 mana for a 1/1, and then you reveal 4, you get a land, and the rest get milled. So again, just stocks the graveyard. A single Merciless Executioner, 3 mana for a 3/1, and when it ends the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. This is fine. Sort of technically like fills up your graveyard because you have to sacrifice one of your things. So yeah, it's okay. And then the few delve cards to go along with the Necropolis Fiend. Gurmag Angler, who's kind of, from what I understand, a bit of an all-star in like low rarity formats like Pauper and stuff, because it is potentially like a very big creature for potentially only 1 mana. Because it's normally 6 in the black, but if you delve it, and you can obviously get it out for much cheaper. So again, I think the deck just wanted more of these, I think. Same with the Sultai Scavenger, 5 in the black for a 3/3 with Delve and Flying. Again, I think the deck just maybe wanted more of these, maybe, possibly. Single Typhoid Rats, which is just a one of. It's not doing much here, but it is a nice little creature, just being a 1/1 Death Touch for 1. And then a whole bunch of rares. So Sultai Essentia, I believe this is this is one of the alternate rares. Hasn't got the main expansion symbol. It's got like the star one to shows it's like an exclusive or whatever. So it's an enchantment that's basically, it's been updated to say like Surveil 2 at the beginning of your upkeep, which is nice. It goes with the deck because obviously you can look at them and put whichever ones you want to into the graveyard, and the rest go back on top. So yeah, I mean, it's ultimately good. Like getting that effect every turn is obviously pretty good in a deck that cares about having stuff in your graveyard. We've got a single Monastery Siege, which is like a good card, but again, I'm not 100% sure what it's doing here. I'm not sure it goes too well with the theme. 3 mana enchantment. When it comes in, you choose Khans or Dragons, which is a really lovely bit of rules text that was on all these sieges. And if you choose Khans at the beginning of your draw step, you draw an additional card, then discard a card. I've just worked out why it's in this deck because you get to loot. So there we go, just worked it out. And the Dragons half is essentially gives all your permanents like Ward 2, but it's not exactly Ward 2, but it was like old Ward 2. But yeah, so obviously you want the Khan side, I think, in here to loot every turn. They've got a single Hero's Downfall, 3 mana just to destroy a creature or a planeswalker. So if you were playing these decks against each other, this is essentially just a rare murder because there's no planeswalkers in the other one. But it's fine, and like nice alternate art as well. Some more delve cards. So a single Dead Drop, which is super expensive at 10, but obviously you can delve it. Target players sacrifice 2 creatures, which is nice. Obviously gets around like protection, indestructible, that kind of thing, which I don't think again like matters if you're playing these decks against each other. But 2 Murderous Cuts, another delve spell that's just a just kills a creature again, which is nice. Set Adrift, which is a time ebb effect again with delve. Again, if you're like delving, if you're exiling like 3 cards or 3 or 4 for this, you're getting like a pretty good rate on these spells, I think. And then a single Treasure Cruise, the most fair and balanced delve spell ever. 7 of blue, delve, draw 3 cards. Potentially draw 3 for a single blue mana. Absolutely fine to have on a common card, right? Like I went on to it in the Sultai deck review, but like obviously too good. I don't like. I think if you balance it by making it, if it was like 6 and double blue, I think it would be then like perfectly okay. It'd still be strong, but yeah, obviously much too good the way it is, I think. And then 2 Sultai Charms, just nice versatile card here that either destroys mono-colored creatures, destroys artifacts and enchantments, or you get to draw 2 and discard, that's fine. 2 Taigan Scheming, which is basically like Surveil 5, which is also, again, what the deck wants to dump stuff into the graveyard. A single null, which actually has something to do against the other deck, because the other deck has like quite a big enchantment theme. So this is okay here, although only one of them is kind of debatable. A single neutralizing blast, which against if you're playing these decks against each other, this counters a grand total of 2 spells in the other deck. So kind of, I think, a bit of a waste. I think just 2 nulls would have been better personally. And then a single despise. Opponent reveals their hand, and you discard a creature or planeswalker from it, which is like fine for like 1 mana. But again, like just having one of these feels a bit pointless to me. Single naturalize for a bit of utility, and then Sultai Banner as a mana rock. And then land, a whole bunch of land, because we've got like a 3-color deck to deal with. So we've got 4 Opulent Palace, which is the Sultai Tri-land, 2 Dismal Backwaters, which is the gain land that gives you blue or black, 2 Evolving Wilds to search up basics, and then 7 Swamps, 5 Forests, and 5 Islands. So let's go into the profit one. So we've got 21 creatures, 5 enchantments, 4 instants, 4 sorceries, 1 artifact, and 25 land mana co off to the side there. So like I said, this one's got like more of an enchantment theme to it. Like there's a few constellation triggers. There is also like a small self-mill theme to it. So I mean that is obviously where the overlap is, like I said. So the foil face around this was Reaper of the Wilds, which is a card I really like. I actually don't like this alternate art for it. I much prefer the original one. But Reaper of the Wilds, I've sort of said it before, like if this had been released like 5 years before it originally was, it would have been like, I think, a chase rare, because I think it's really good for like only 4 mana. But then that's probably just the casual player in me talking. So 4 mana for a 4/5. Whenever another creature dies, you scry 1, which I think is a good effect anyway. You can pay a black to give it Death Touch on turn, and 2 mana to give it Hexproof on turn. Like, I just think it's like a really just solid black-green creature, honestly. Doesn't do too much for the deck, because it's not milling stuff, it's not an enchantment to trigger various effects, but like it's still like solid, I think. We got a Courser of Krufix that was in the last deck as well. So and it had alternate art there as well. So like by this point now, Courser of Krufix has probably only been out at this point in the game's history. Has only probably been out for like a year, maybe just over a year, and it's had like three different artworks of it already, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, 3 mana for a 2/4. It's an enchantment creature. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You can play the top card of your library. It's a land card, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Just obviously like super good. Just be able to essentially gives you +1 card in your hand. If it's a land, it's just great. It's just great. Really important to note, it doesn't give you extra land drops. So, you are still limited to 1 land a turn unless you've got something else. But always good to know what the top card of your library is. Single Night Howler. This goes with the sort of like the self-mill theme the deck has. So 1 double black. It's got like a bestow creature like the Herald of Torment. So it gets +X where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So actually this is a nice like against the mirror match of like the one that's self-milling. It can get potentially huge, and like wherever it gets bestowed on can get like really big as well. So yeah, this is a nice inclusion. We got single Eidolon of Blossoms. So this was, from I remember, like a bit of a money card at the time, because it's like an Enchantress effect, and Enchantresses always go for like a lot of money. So two and double green for a 2/2. Whenever Eidolon of Blossoms or another enchantment as the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. It's like standard like Enchantress effect. And like I said, the deck does have a lot of enchantments in it, so like it's just a good card to have in here and just get extra card draw. So yeah, that's good. Doomwake Giant, so 5 mana for 4/6, so just like a fairly good body for its stats anyway. It has a constellation ability. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 turn. So like a nice one-sided like shrink effect is really good, I think, as well. And like in a deck that can potentially play more than 1 enchantment a turn, because like from what I remember, like the creatures in the other deck are like not super big. I mean, obviously some of them are like the Gurmag Angler, like the ones that you delve for, but like a lot of the creatures in there are like kind of like smallish support creatures. So just getting like 2 activations of this would really kind of mess up combat maths. I got 2 Grim Guardians, which is a card I'm very fond of. 3 mana for a 1/4. It's a constellation trigger to make opponents lose life, which is okay. No ways of really abusing it by like getting, being able to reliably get enchantments back to your hand. There is actually a way of getting enchantment back into your hand, but like it's kind of slow and bad, as we'll see. Two Oak Dryads has a constellation trigger where like you put you just get +1/+1 turn on a creature, which is like fine, it's okay. Got two Brain Maggots, so 2 mana for a 1/1, and when it ends the battlefield, opponent reveals their hand, you exile a non-land card from it until Brain Maggot leaves the battlefield. This is just like a nice cheap creature just to play and like kind of remove like a key card, and they've got like dedicate then resource to getting rid of the Brain Maggot, so they get the card back. I think it's just pretty cool. Single Baleful Eidolon, it's just a death touching 1/1 that can bestow. Yeah, it's fine. Leaf Crown Dryad. This was in the previous deck as well, actually, I think. Yeah, again, just like a 2/2 with reach with, again, a bestow ability. So, yeah, big, sort of like I say, like enchantment, bestow ability, kind of theme to it. Single Noble Quarry, it's just like a lure effect, which is, I think, always super strong. The fact it can bestow onto things as well is really, really good. It is obviously expensive to do. So I think normally you just play this at 3 mana and then you've just got like a really cheap like lure effect, which are always good, I think. And then we've got 3 Nyx Weavers. So this is, I think, the main card that, from what I remember, gets carried over into the combined deck because it obviously benefits like both decks very, very well. So 3 mana for a 2/3 reach. Being your upkeep, you mill 2, and you can spend 3 and exile it to get a card from your graveyard back to your hand. So this is, I think, like the bridge between the two decks, honestly. And I think it's the key card that gets. I think all 3 get carried over into the final deck list, from what I remember. Got Grave Robber Spider, which is also something that cares about cards in the graveyard. It's just Giant Spider, and it has this activated ability to get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in graveyard. Yep, that's fine. With the Nyx Weaver, that can obviously like stack up pretty high. Nemesis Immortals, again, is another one that cares about creature cards in your graveyard. I've sort of like gone off on a tangent about Nemesis Immortals before. I just think it's just a super cool card. Yeah, with this monstrosity cost that can be reduced. Yeah, I think it's just great. Then we've got a loathsome Catobal Pass. I think that's how it's pronounced. Just super expensive, 3/3. It has to. It has an ability where it has to be blocked this turn if able, and then when it dies and a creature an opponent controls gets -3/-3 times then. I think it's just kind of a bit expensive and bad and a bit dirtly. So yeah, this is like an easy cut, I think. And then this is really nice, alternate art Whip of Erebos, which was a really, really good card. I think I would say still now is like pretty good. So 4 mana to give all your creatures lifelink, which is immediately, I think, just great. And then the second ability to pay 4 and tap, and you basically like unearth a creature, so it comes back in and it gets haste and all that kind of things. And if it would go anywhere, then it gets exiled, that kind of thing. So yes, in the combined deck, when you got things that are dumping into your graveyard, you got Whip of Erebos then to like reanimate stuff. I think it's just really solid. I think, and it's really nice to have this alternate art of it, which I think is pretty good. I think it's better than the original. 3 Commune with the Gods, 2 mana, you reveal top 5 cards of your library, you can put a creature or enchantment from amongst them into your graveyard, and then the rest get milled. So yeah, again, this obviously helps to stack in the graveyard with stuff you need. A single Reviving Melody, 3 mana to, you choose one or both to get a creature card from your graveyard back to your hand, or get an enchantment from your graveyard back to your hand. And in this deck, normally, you just do both, and obviously you got enchantment creatures, so you can get 2 creatures back with it. It's just nice, and I think there should have been more than one in here, honestly, but it is what it is. A single Font of Fertility, which was again in the previous Clash pack. It's just like rampant growth on enchantment. It's like okay, I suppose. And then 2 Vine Weft. So this is kind of like the bad repeatable enchantment. So 1 green mana for an aura that just gives +1/+1. You spend 5 to return it from your graveyard to your hand. So obviously, if it does get milled, like you can get it back and then replay it and get constellation triggers. But like, it's not a good card. I wouldn't maybe dedicate deck space to it. And then we've got a single Debilitating Injury, just 2 mana to give a aura to give the enchanted creature -2/2, like sure, whatever. And a single Nyx Infusion, 3 mana aura to give an enchanted creature +2/+2 if it's an enchantment, otherwise it gets -2/2. So it's nice, like bit of, again, dual purpose. It's either a buff or a debuff. I would have maybe just gone with the two Nyx Infusions rather than one of each, but again, it is what it is. And this is sort of just getting into the filler of it now. So 2 Dark Betrayals that destroys a black creature, which is fine. So like, again, if you're playing these decks against each other, this actually has something to do, so that's okay. But it should otherwise not be main deck. Single Defend the Hearth, 2 mana to prevent all combat damage to be dealt to players this turn, and single Plummet just to destroy a creature with flying. Sure, these are all okay. 2 Jungle Hollows for a bit of dual land, cheap gain life land, I suppose. And then 12 forests and 11 swamps. So this is the final like combined deck list. I'm not going to go through all the cards because we've talked about all of these. So yeah, the three Nyx Weaves in here. So this is like combining the cards into a single like 3-color deck that is like way more focused on like milling yourself, and it's got like the Delve effect, it's got Gurmag Angler in there. I would say there's still like a big enchantment theme into it, because like the way these decks works is that they use kind of all the rares that came in the deck, like no matter how much synergy there was there. So that you can see we got Eidolon of Blossoms, we got the Doomwake Giant, but like maybe not enough enchantments or enchantment creatures to make it work. So I don't know, maybe there's like Whip of Erebos in there and stuff, and Commune with the Gods, which obviously helps with the mill. And it comes with like a suggested sideboard as well there, of what you could mix around with, and change between matches and stuff. So yeah, that's Power and Profit. I'm not as taken with this one as the first one we looked at, the Fate and Fury. I think that one's like really solid. This one I think is, I don't know, it feels like a bit muddled. I guess I don't like that like the two decks are so similar to each other in terms of like color. Like there's not a lot of variety, and I guess there's always going to be that element of like, well, if you're like combining the best bits of both of them into like a single deck, they've got to kind of obviously share a color in some way. But yeah, the fact that one is green black and the other one's green black blue, I don't know, like they I guess they sort of feel different enough, but like, obviously one has got like way more of an enchantment theme, and one is like got all the delve and like self mill and stuff, and obviously there's the overlap there. But yeah, it's okay. I think I still prefer like the first one. I think the first one did a better job of it, but like this is still, I guess, okay. I still maintain that the whole idea of clash packs is still a good idea. But I'd love to know what you think about this particular Clash pack, or like I say, the whole idea and concept of Clash packs. Stick a comment below. I'll give that a read, like I always do. In the next video, we're going to look at the last of the Clash packs. There's only 3 of them, so they obviously weren't too successful, unfortunately. And spoiler alert, it sort of runs into the same sort of problems we've had here, but you'll find out about that next time. I hope you're around to watch that one. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.